Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're intervening against one of the most, I think, frustrating forms of self-judgment. The one that kind of whispers, long after a conflict is over, why am I still talking about this? Why can't I just move on?
Right, that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So we're diving into that experience, which is so necessary but so widely misunderstood, of needing repeated, consistent validation after you've survived a long period of gaslighting.
And if you're listening and that feels familiar, if you've ever asked yourself, why do I still need confirmation?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me that I can't just be sure?
Yes.
We're here to unpack that, but more than that, we're here to just completely refuse the premise that anything is wrong with you.
I'm so glad you said that, because the refusal has to be the starting point.
It has to, because the sources we've looked at, they shift the entire framework. They insist that this repetition, this need to check, it isn't a personal failure.
It's not weakness.
Not at all. It's not insecurity. It's not emotional dependence.
Yeah.
It is, and this is the key phrase, structural repair.
Structural repair.
Yeah. The injury from gaslighting creates this fracture, not just in your confidence, but in the actual link between what you perceive and what you can accept as real.
Okay.
So the talking, the checking, the asking again, that's the cautious, necessary attempt to re-anchor your own knowing.
That distinction is so vital because it takes all the moral judgment out of the equation, right?
Truly.
Now, for this deep dive, we've focused our analysis on the experience of people with gestalt learning patterns, or GLPs.
Right.
Because the damage they experience really gives us a clear lens into this structural breakdown. But I want to be clear, the insights on how repair actually works they're critical for anyone who's gone through sustained reality distortion.
Absolutely. Our mission today is really to move past the shallow definitions of gaslighting.
Yeah, the buzzword version of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack why it's best understood as an epistemic assault, and why, because of that, a single yes, that happened is, well, it's just never going to be enough.
Okay, let's dig right into that phrase, epistemic assault. Because usually when we talk about gaslighting, the words we use are, pretty gentle.
They are?
We say confusion or miscommunication or maybe emotional manipulation.
And that makes it sound almost accidental, like a bad misunderstanding that just got out of control.
Precisely. And that framing, it really minimizes the actual violence being done.
It does. Our sources draw this really crucial distinction. Confusion is only the surface effect.
It's a symptom?
It's the symptom. It's the feeling you walk away with. But the core injury, it goes so much deeper than just being confused or off balance for a bit.
So what's the real threat then?
The real threat is to what researchers call epistemic survival.
Okay, break that down.
Epistemic just refers to knowledge, to how we know things. So epistemic survival is your fundamental capacity to trust your own ability to know.
To trust your senses, your memory.
Your senses, your memory, your emotional data, all of it, in a world that is just relentlessly insisting that you cannot be trusted.
So the gaslighter isn't just targeting your feelings, though they get damaged too.
Right.
They're targeting your authority.
That's it. Your authority as a knower. The damage doesn't come from you being too sensitive or remembering something wrong. It comes from repeated, organized disconfirmation. Being told over and over that what you saw didn't happen, or what you felt was an overreaction.
The message is just relentless. Your internal signals are broken.
They're unreliable.
Yeah.
And so your entire authority to be a person who knows things is revoked.
And what's so insidious about that is the lesson that settles in over time. It's not one fight. It's the slow burn pattern that teaches you something really dangerous.
Yeah.
It teaches you that being certain is a risk, that asserting what you know will lead to punishment or denial, so silence feels safer.
The ground just gets softer and softer underneath you. And that erosion makes the self, well, fundamentally uncertain, not just about a fact, but as a knower at all.
That's why epistemic assault is the right term.
It's an organized erosion. It's a dismantling of your basic right to interpret your own life. And the cruelest part is that reality gets outsourced to the person with the power to deny yours.
Wow. Okay. That makes the stakes so much clearer. So let's bring in the specific angle from our sources now about gestalt learning patterns, or GLPs.
Right.
Because when we talk about this need for validation, people often create this false choice. They ask, is this a GLP thing or is it a trauma thing?
And the sources are just unequivocal on this. For someone who is GLP and has been gaslit, you cannot separate those two things.
You can't tease them apart.
You can't. Trying to do that does violence to the experience, as one source puts it. The trauma lands specifically on the architecture of their knowing, which is already different.
Okay, let's slow down here then, because we need to detail how memory and knowing actually function for someone with a Gestalt learning pattern.
Yeah, this is the core structural piece. We usually think of memory in a very neurotypical way, like pulling up files on a computer.
Detachable facts.
Detachable facts. I can remember I bought milk without remembering the whole atmosphere of the grocery store.
Right.
But for GLPs, memory is stored as a compressed whole, a gestalt.
Like a single integrated block of information.
Exactly. It's a relational field, an atmosphere, sensation, emotion, context, meaning. It all arrives together. Knowing is distributed across the body, the pattern, the whole relationship. It relies on integration.
So you don't just remember what happened, you remember the entire pattern, the tone of voice, the feeling in your gut, the meaning is baked right into the sensory data.
Yes, exactly. It's a completely different cognitive architecture. So when gaslighting enters that system, the act of denial is catastrophic.
Because it's not just questioning one detail.
Right. Being told that didn't happen doesn't just make you doubt, the brand of milk you bought. It destabilizes the entire memory field.
You're questioning your body, your emotions, the meaning of the event all at once.
It all unravels together. The metaphor one source uses is it's so powerful. They say what comes undone is the scaffold itself.
The scaffold.
The injury isn't just forgetting something. It's the feeling of knowing without ground. That whole integrated framework that keeps your perception coherent gets unthreaded.
And so the repetition we see, the need to ask again and again.
That's the system trying to reconstruct the ground. It's a foundational repair effort, and that's why it has to be slow.
Okay, so if that's how it's built and then how it's destroyed, that completely changes how we should think about recovery.
It has to.
Which brings us to reframing repetition itself, because the common judgment is that it's just emotional dependency, or even a kind of addiction to reassurance.
And that judgment misses the entire point of what's happening. That framing only makes sense if you think the damage was minor.
If it was just a little anxiety.
Yeah, if it were just low self-esteem, maybe one good pep talk would do it. But the function of repetition here is totally different. Validation is not sought just to calm anxiety or to, outsource your certainty to someone else.
So what are they doing when someone asks the 10th time, "Are you sure that happened? Did I remember that right?"
They're re-anchoring, that's the verb. They're taking an internally held memory, which is probably perfectly intact, but has been cut off from shared reality, and they are trying to bring it back into alignment.
Through a trusted relationship.
It has to be relational. The damage was relational, so the repair must be too.
So each retelling isn't a loop. It's a recalibration.
A recalibration. That's perfect. The fragile memory is spoken out loud, and it's met not with doubt, but with quiet recognition.
Yes, I remember that. Your read on it was right.
And in that moment,
The system gets a little piece of confirmation that perception and meaning can safely coexist again. The link that was severed between what you felt inside and what's allowed to be real outside starts to get restored. This directly answers that listener question, doesn't it? Why one, yes, that happened, is never enough.
never.
The injury wasn't one denial, it was repeated. It was a cumulative weight over months or years. One single confirmation can't possibly outweigh that.
The nervous system was trained, slowly and painfully, to associate its own perception with risk, with invalidation.
These lessons were taught through repetition.
So you can't expect trust to just snap back. It has to accumulate the same way, slowly, consistently, reliably. Each time a trusted person says, yes, I see it too, a tiny bit of that new bridge gets stronger.
It's hard to accept that slowness is a sign of success, not failure. The pressure for speed usually comes from the outside, from people who are, frankly, uncomfortable with how long repair takes.
Absolutely. The rebuilding is happening at a structural level. It's like pouring a new foundation for a house. You have to let it cure.
You can't rush it.
You can't. It's not about temporary soothing. It's about restoring the architecture so that perception and memory and meaning can hold together again without collapsing. The work is slow because the wound was slow.
Given that deep need for quiet, repeated consistency, we have to talk about the flip side, the ethics of support, and how often therapeutic missteps can cause a second injury.
This is such a crucial piece because when therapy, or even just well-meaning friends, misunderstand this, they can accidentally reenact the same dynamic.
How so?
When a client is told, you have to learn to trust yourself now without external support, that can actually function as a new epistemic removal.
Wow. Because it's treating a structural injury like it's a behavioral problem.
Like it's a bad habit. It's like trying to fix a destroyed, load-bearing wall with a Post-it note that says, be more confident.
That's a great analogy.
The sources are really strong on this, especially about certain models, like some rigid CBT approaches that prize quick closure and forced independence over actual coherence.
So the need for repetition gets framed as the client being non-compliant.
Right. Instead of being seen as a necessary contextual behavior, what was broken in a relationship is suddenly expected to heal in total isolation.
The failure there isn't the method itself. It's applying a rapid behavioral fix to a wound that's fundamentally structural and relational.
Yes. It forces the survivor to perform certainty before the internal conditions for certainty have actually been rebuilt.
It's collapsing repair into obedience.
Exactly. It serves the therapist's comfort or the treatment plan's timeline more than the survivor's actual need.
So, based on the sources, what does true effective support actually look like? It sounds like it has to be incredibly disciplined.
It's quiet. And yes, profoundly disciplined. It's not about big, dramatic interventions.
It's about something else.
It's about the willingness to confirm reality more than once, and more than 10 times, if that's what it takes, without irritation, without a big sigh, without rushing the person toward a conclusion they're not ready for.
True support sees the repetition not as being stuck,
but as integration in motion. You're not just rehearsing a story. You are constantly, gently checking your internal map against a relational anchor that proves again and again that it will hold steady.
So the goal isn't to get the person to stop needing confirmation.
No. The goal is to participate ethically in creating the conditions, the slow, consistent, boringly reliable reality that allows their own knowing to finally stabilize.
We have to refuse to rush epistemic stability just because it's messy or takes a long time.
We have to. We have to treat memory as relational and accept that trust is grown through consistency, not just demanded by a cognitive reframe.
That is just a massive perspective shift. It moves the whole burden away from the survivor's supposed weakness.
It has to.
We started with that cruel internal question, what is wrong with me? And we end with this deep understanding that the work continues, as one source says, not out of weakness, but out of care for the integrity of knowing itself.
That's the core insight. Trust comes back the same way it was eroded. Slowly, relationally, through repetition. The confirmations you need from the outside gradually settle inside, piece by piece, until your own knowing can stand on its own 2 feet again.
Validation is something you are given back, not something you just outgrow.
That's it, exactly.
This has been an incredibly vital deep dive.
A necessary one, I think.
So for our final thought, if the slow, cumulative nature of this damage requires slow, cumulative repair, and if demanding rapid, non-relational closure is a huge misstep here, what other established societal or therapeutic models might be failing people for the same reason? Because they demand instant independence rather than supporting the long relational work of rebuilding a stable self. Think about grief or recovery from poverty or even complex PTSD.
That is the essential question to carry forward, questioning any system that values efficiency over coherence.
Join us next time for another deep dive.